Okay, Ian, having a look at your essay. The first thing is don't forget to highlight the important factors in your question so that you know what you need to focus on. Second thing is really nice to see a plan there. You can see the good bits of the essay that I've highlighted in green, and the bits in the essay that I think probably need revising are the bits in blue. So I've highlighted the fact that you've used a lot of great key terms there. I would just change this here where it says the fear of communism was high during the early 1930s. See if you can revise that sentence structure just to make that read a little bit better. Also, be careful not to repeat your point. You see the bit that I've boxed out in blue, because it just is a little bit repetitive here. You make the same point twice but worded differently. So choose one good way to say it and stick with that. Okay, so it's good that you've said it was a contributing factor. I would change where you've said this is a solid and important factor. Again, just revise that sentence structure. If you read it back to yourself, you'll see it doesn't read particularly well to say that, so just change that a little bit. I would look at our connective sheet again and see if there's a different way you can link these two paragraphs together. The end of this paragraph and the start of this paragraph should flow really nicely. And by starting with at first the NSDAP, I just feel like you're setting the tone to be quite narrative and descriptive instead of explanatory and analytical. You also miss out the point here that they did this legally. Here would be a good place to mention the Enabling Act, which I think you've forgotten to do or you ran out of time. Again, sentence structure here. Designed by Hitler and Goebbels to create a power atmosphere. Don't think that makes your point how you wanted to make it. Some good points down here about Hitler creating this idea that he was kind of a kind of messiah, and glorified his own image, really. And then I really like that you've ended it with relating it back down and linking it back to the question. Okay, I like the start of this sentence here, the start of this, linking back to the question straight away, saying that, pointing out the fact that the German people needed to be willing to cooperate because there'd already been such a stink about them not being happy with the Weimar Republic. You make a few points here, but don't explain how this increased their power. So you make a point, you say it increased their power, but you don't really go into how and why. And just in general, this is a little descriptive, but lacking key dates and key statistics, accurate statistics. So roughly 95%. See if you can find just one or two statistics that are memorable to you and add them into this part of your essay. Again, you've mentioned false promises down here, but not expanded on what you mean by that. But I did like this part here, so it showed they maintained and strengthened their power sufficiently and effectively. That's really good explanation. And you've pointed out here which part of the population they were aiming at and how they kind of did that through the banning of trade unions and the introduction of the DAF. So that's really good. Moving on then. Good connective to start off with there. You're making the point that the underlying factor is terror. So propaganda, they use terror. Fear of communism links to terror. So you're trying to link back to the fact that everything is terror. November Criminals has an element of terror. So you're saying that it all links in. And also that they created this atmosphere of fear where people feared possibly ending up in a concentration camp or killed or worse. And you've linked that back to terror as well. So that's really good. Okay, lastly then, good link back to the question here. You've clearly made a judgment here, and that's what I really like about your conclusion mostly, is that you've made a clear, solid judgment relating back to the question, which is how far do you agree? And you've said, well, I do agree. My main school of thought here is that I agree terror had a lot to do with this. So I've just pointed out a few things that I think you should add to your essay when you're doing your dirt, and that is the Enabling Act, the legal revolution, and the death of Hindenburg didn't feature in your essay, and I feel like they did have a place there. I saw in your plan at the start you said that you didn't have time to add this one in, so I would make a point of doing that in your dirt if you could, please. Okay, looking at levels then, we always start at level 3. The question is partly addressed, yes it is. There's a demonstration of some relevant knowledge and understanding, yes there is. Which evaluated and analysed in part of the answer, but in places knowledge is imparted rather than being used, definitely. There are a couple of places I've pointed out where points are made and get a little descriptive at times without explaining why they're valid to the question. Analysis is appropriately linked to the judgments made, sometimes, not always explicit. The information has some relevance and is presented with limited structure, and the information is supported by limited evidence. So I would say that you are, at the moment, a solid level 3. There are a couple of points, though, where you missed out on some of the level 3 in terms of statistics and things being added. So I would say that you were on the sort of lower end of level 3, lower to middle end. So I would give you 11 marks for this answer. And 11 marks would roughly get you a C equals for this essay. So not bad at all. Think about the points that I've made. Think about all the good points as well. There were some really good things to take away from this essay. But if we want to get into this higher sort of bracket, we need more statistics, and we need for it to be a little bit less descriptive, and for some of those key factors to be added in. So think about making those amendments on your assignment cover sheet for me, please, and well done.